it, since it's 5 of. So maybe Captain Spencer
might have some information.
Yeah, maybe.
Is he aware that we're coming?
On the 11th?
Mm-hmm.
He must be,
okay.
Right?
Okay. Because I know we picked the 11th on Sunday. I don't know if it was told to them. Yeah, I guess it was. Or by now it should have been.
I would think so.
Okay.
It keeps going in and out of focus.
Well, I'm glad we do have 2 attorneys on our committee.
Yeah.
Because some of this terminology.
Hello, Captain. He might still be connecting.
Yeah. Is that how he has to dress when he goes to work? He has to wear a suit?
Yeah, he usually does wear a suit, Captain
okay.
Spencer.
Okay. And Bernie's on.
We are unmuted now.
Thank you. So how many people is that? 1, 2, 3.
Just let's see. So it's going to be
the 5 committee chairs.
The 5 committee chairs,
Jimmy
Captain Spencer, and you.
Okay.
So
7.
Yeah. Yep.
Who won that game last night, Wade?
We won. We had a good game. It was a scrimmage, so it wasn't really too competitive, but we did win. And Kirsten had a good game, so it's a good night. Perfect weather, so it was nice. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
Patrick.
Rev.
Good afternoon.
Brother Wade.
Yes, sir.
First of all, two things. One thing, excuse me, y'all. This is pastoral concerns right now. Pastor Wade, Brother Wade, you and your brother were supposed to redo your membership last time we talked at the cemetery. And two, you having lunch and you didn't send none this way.
My apologies.
I accept your apologies. So you and your brother supposed to be redoing your membership, and it's real easy now. So you ain't even got to walk down no aisle now.
Okay. All right. I hear you. I'm going to talk to my brother too.
Listen, we talked about it at the cemetery. What
Okay.
a better place? What a better place to talk about church membership at the cemetery?
I know.
So, Sister Karen, I apologize. This is what African Americans do when they need members of the church.
And happy anniversary.
No worries at
Thank
all.
you, sir. Thank you.
I think everybody is on, though. Are we
Huh?
ready?
Everybody's on?
Everybody's on, yes. Patrick, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great.
How's everybody doing?
Okay,
Great.
okay.
Good.
It's really nice outside. It's
Yeah.
really
Who cares?
It
What?
is.
Who cares? I can't go out until after 4 o'clock.
Oh,
I work.
I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, so this is a meeting with just the chair people of the subcommittees. So what we want to hear today is how you're doing, how's it looking? Do you need any help? Are you prepared to give any preliminary recommendations? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay,
So
and you are the
community engagement.
community engagement. Okay,
So we are meeting again this evening or this afternoon because our first session was not taped. So we're coming on through Karen's help and so that the session can be taped. We do have some recommendations and we'll go over them one more time and anything else that we need to add to them. And that way you could have it recorded what we've done and it can be up and above board and stuff like that.
so you feel good? You feel good about where it's going?
Yeah, I got Captain Spencer. I'm real good. You know?
My man.
Yeah, we're good. And it was interesting once again because of I'm not, even though they call post 4, I'm gonna call them the community engagement people. I've seen them walk around the area. I'm going to be having a call with Lieutenant Vinny sooner or later, along with Captain Spencer. And
I think Vinny was supposed to drop by and see you, Rev.
okay, don't worry about it. I got him on my note sheet today to make that happen. And then me and him will talk further from there. But we're good. I don't think we needed it. I don't think we needed anything, right?
No, I think we're on the right track. And I was funny you mentioned post 4. I think they're called something different now. Is that true, Cap, or is it still post 4?
Community engagement.
You about to get me in trouble. The chief beat up me up about the name and told me don't forget the name. And what do I do?
Good name. All right, don't worry. Today at 4 o'clock for our meeting, we'll have the name locked down. But yeah, I just think the name says a lot. And I thought of a name and I'll mention later on. But Strategic Community Empowerment Unit. To me, that's something, the unit has to be strategic, has to empower the community. That's all a part of community policing. But the name means a lot. And I think post 4 needs to go bye-bye. And because I remember working with post 4, and I'm sure it is bye-bye, but there is a new name. And I just, I think it's part of community strategic
Yep.
something in that nature. So
it goes to being guardians.
Yes.
In the community. So
I'm
I know.
familiar with that. I'm not familiar with that. I never heard of them.
I'm sorry.
I'm not familiar with that group.
No, it's new. It's a new group that White Plains started, right?
Yeah.
That the White Plains Police Department started.
Yeah.
Let's be clear.
Okay. Oh, all right.
So maybe a little bit of history for Janice would be maybe enough. So White Plains, and I'll speak from the White Plains Housing Authority point of view. The White Plains Housing Authority used to have specific group of officers assigned to it to patrol and police the campus of the White Plains Housing Authority, and they may have gone up beyond that location, but essentially that was where they were assigned. And just as a point of information, many of the housing authorities, the larger housing authorities in Westchester, the police department in that municipality have a specific squad or group that's assigned to the on the ground policing of that community. And I think that it's supposed to, and in the past, it has added to their ability to be strategic and tactical in terms of the issues and problems that face that community in particular. And one of the things that in White Plains housing that we've had an issue with is trespassing. That's people who don't live on the property who may come and commit crimes of various natures on the property. And the particular squad or police group that was responsible for managing them in White Plains was called Post 4. And that group, I think in the past, and Wade, correct me if I'm wrong, and Spence, was a number of 4 officers that were assigned to that location on a 24/7 basis. They were very aware of the individuals who lived on the property and those who frequent the property that didn't live there. And they had general intelligence about things that were happening in and out of the housing authority. Correct?
Yeah, correct.
Gentlemen?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak from my experience. They weren't 24/7. They were the officers that were stationed there were mainly like 8 to 4 and 4 to 12 when we had 4, and then after hours, a midnight midnight crew will be assigned to work Post 4, but they were not regular. That's what back when I was working, and then when it was down to 2 officers, they would work like a shift maybe noon to 8, or the shift varies on whatever the needs were. But Jimmy, I know if there's anything different, just jump in.
No, that's absolutely correct. And I think it's Community Initiatives Unit. But I know that the chief was toying with different names, but that's our public name. I think Post 4, and I think it's become interchangeable with Post 4 and whatever the name of the unit is. Post 4 is more of a geographic area, Wade, like the sector cars that we have, or Box 8, so that's more geographic, and that's more police jargon. That's more of what we're going to call our people out there. But in terms of the public, it's the community, and I think it's Community Initiatives Unit.
Is it the same
but I
police
also like the Strategic Initiatives Unit, Wade, that you said.
I mentioned to the chief.
Yeah, I think he stole part of
that. Is it the same police officers all the time?
It's actually a group of 6. 4 officers have been assigned to foot posts in the Winbrook, Post Road, Lexington area. And they have the responsibility not only for Winbrook, but for the businesses and residents in and around the area. And then 2 officers have been assigned to bike patrol on the Main Street, Mamaroneck Avenue corridor. But they're all interchangeable. They're all one unit, and a bunch of good, smart, understanding police officers. And I think the Rev has already met a few of them. And Bernie, I don't know if you've met them. I think you have met them too.
Yes, I've met all of them in 2 facets. One through the crisis group that I coordinate, and then the other one also is that when we did the walkthrough,
right,
all of the officers were there and we got to meet with them.
Right.
So that was good. And just as a point of information, according to what the chief told me, these individuals just didn't get placed there. They were assigned and they had to be interviewed specifically to take on this job. So these officers are not just any old officers that are on the street. They are specifically chosen for this particular assignment. Am I not correct, Spencer?
That's right. We looked at attendance, performance, conduct. There was, you had to apply. They looked at the personnel file, and then there was an interview process, and all of these officers were graded against each other. And I think we're very fortunate to have this group in the unit.
All right. So you're working with them also, Reverend Trolinger. Okay, good. All right, sounds good.
Most definitely.
But you have two committees that you're chairing, right?
Oh, no, only one.
What's the other committee that you're on?
No, I'm on two committees, but I'm on Wade's committee.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
I'm
one
on-
that Wade chaired. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, Wade, you want to go now?
sure. The qualifications, recruitment, and retention subcommittee. We are right on schedule. We're ready to present to the bigger group. We have some recommendations, and it's going to be up to the chief and the captain are on board. It's going to be up to the city and the mayor and the common council and our committees to see what they there may be some costs, so we'll see. And there may, it's going to definitely be some changes in the processes and procedures about hiring officers that city halls have to be involved in. But we're right on point. I mean, if you want me to go over some details, I can, but we're in a good spot.
You good?
Yes.
You feel like you're going in the right direction?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we are.
Okay,
I
good.
think it's about done, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, as long as the bigger committee signs off on it. How you doing, Mr. Mayor?
Everybody, just want to stop by and say hello.
Hey, Mr.
Hello.
Mayor.
Yeah, as long as everybody's okay with our bigger meeting, then we're ready.
Okay,
Rock and
so
roll.
the 16th, you'll be ready to tell us what you got as far as recommendations?
Yes.
Okay, and they're just preliminary recommendations.
Yeah. I mean, unless somebody has any,
Right,
other ideas, but we're ready. We're ready to write our section of the report. We're ready to go.
good. Katrina, Patrick, or Bernie? Who wants to go? Katrina?
I'll jump in. I'll jump in.
All right, Bernie, and you are policies and procedures.
Yes. So Janice, you know that you're in our group. So our task, I think, is maybe one of the more difficult tasks because we are looking at the policies and procedures. We actually had 7 policies that were handed to us from the chief, and we've been going through them each one at a time. And we've had meetings in which we started to record our information from the meetings as soon as possible. We also keep minutes of our meetings so that we are able to refer back to if there's anything else that we've said that we're able to account back to, and we somewhat follow a structured pattern in which we have an agenda for every meeting, and we have issues of concern and topic of discussion. As I said, our committee, and Janice, please jump in at any time. I think that we spend a lot of time in trying to understand the language and the information that we've seen in the policies and procedures, and we have several questions that have been brought forth that we will be putting into a table of comment that I've prepared for each of the policies that we have gone through. But we've also found that maybe some of the policies that we have may be either we misunderstand them or we need further clarification, and we will be officially asking for those clarifications. Another thing that our group is going to have happen is we're going to do 2 sessions with police department in which we have a presentation from each of the departments as to what their roles and responsibilities are. And I actually got this when we did the walkthrough with Captain Spencer and Chief Costelli, and found it to be tremendously valuable. And actually, Karen was on that during that session with me. I think we spent about 2 or 3 hours with the police department getting to see each department, meeting the officers in the department, understanding what their roles and responsibilities are in the various departments that exist within the police department, I think is extremely informative. I know that Wade, you understand the department, but Karen has gone through it. I recommend Janice go through it if you haven't, but I think that we'll get much of that when we have our sit down conferences with the police department, which we'll do in 2 sessions. And Katrina, I really recommend it. If you haven't done this, Reverend Trollinger, I know you are already in part of a group that might have done this already. But if you haven't, I tremendously recommend you go through this walkthrough. And Patrick, the same thing. I think it's essential for especially all of us who are chairing committees to understand as much as possible about the operations of the police department so that our groups, as we make recommendations, we're making recommendations that are in line with the way that the department operates and how we can best give some comment to that. As I said to Karen at another time when we had a separate conference call, for me, it's hard to imagine that as a professional, someone's going to come in who's not in my line of work and give me a recommendation as to how I should perform or what I should do. And I think that that's what we are in line trying to do. Although we are emissaries of our community and trying to make sure that we meet the needs of the mandate from the governor, we are absolutely responsible for the topics and issues that we cover within what we're doing. And people in our community, as such, will turn back to us at some point and say, well, what did you do in that committee and what were you responsible for? And I think that it's important for us to understand as much as possible and be able to communicate that not only to ourselves, but to the communities that we represent. So going to that walkthrough is tremendously important. And that's where we are so far. We've met once a week, but I think that we're going to up that meeting schedule in order to meet the need of going through these policies. And once again, I think we have 7 policies that we are looking at. However, there's a book of possibly 200 or 300 policies that exist. And many of them may intersect with one another, but we're trying to grasp the essentials behind that so that we can meet the requirements that we have from this governor's initiative. Karen, or not Karen, but more so Janice, could you add to that? Because you're part of the group also.
No, I think you covered everything.
Okay.
I just want to ask you, as the chairperson, how do you feel about the direction that the group is going? Are we going to be ready on the 16th to give some maybe preliminary recommendations?
I think that we will have a clear understanding of how we should proceed. In terms of looking at all of the policies that we need to look at, I question that, but I don't think that is our initiative. I think our initiative is to be able to comment on the set of policies that are most in line with providing the necessary changes that the initiative from the governor has mandated. So I do think that being that we have a lot of brain power in our committee, it's made up of mostly lawyers, that we'll be able to get there.
Bernie, has the meeting at Public Safety Headquarters for the 11th, has that been finalized yet? And if so, what time is it?
Well, we have to finalize that through you, but the time frame, the group has said that the 11th is good, and we're looking at 12 to 1:30 for our first meeting. So
That's what the chief has down, Bernie.
yeah, that's
Okay.
what I understand it to be.
Do you know which departments we're gonna be meeting with?
We're going to be meeting with all of the department heads, and if you give me a second, I can go through with you exactly what those groups are. Just a second, I could tell you. I know you can, but and I know you have this, Spencer. So, but let me help out if best. But you correct me if I'm wrong. So I think we're going to be first meeting with the. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong. Just a second, if you will. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the investigations and operations departments first. And under investigations and operations is the community advocacy and strategic initiatives. And they cover victim services, mental health outreach, school resource, and strategic initiatives. And we're also going to be meeting with, we're also going to get information from the criminal investigations unit, which covers daily duty, warrants, narcotics, and intelligence. And in that same day, we will get a presentation from the operations, the chief, the captain for that area, and that's going to cover patrols. And under patrols, we have prisoner processing and transportation, sector patrol, neighborhood initiatives, and then the special ops area, which covers emergency services and K9. That's on the first day. And on the second day, whenever we schedule that, will be traffic department. And under the traffic department, get speed enforcement, radar cars, enforcement patrol, motorcycle unit, and special events. And also under that same day, where we have that'll be special services and administration, which covers data management, policy development, emergency management, and procedures and preparedness, excuse me, and then training. And those are all the departments. Correct me, Captain Spencer. I actually got this information from Captain Spencer. And I'd gone through this presentation from him already, which is why I felt that it's significantly important for us to understand it. And once again, all committee chairs should actually go through this in some way or get this information so that you are well aware of the vast amount of operation that this department goes through. I can't say it more than not. This is a business that's being operated, and it has its uniqueness and its totality in terms of operations. And if we're not able to see it from that point of view, I think that we somewhat missed the ballpark. I can't be a police officer, and I don't work strategically in that area, other than to understand from my point of view of public safety what is required. But there's tremendous amount of professionalism and commitment within the department, and I think that needs to be seen and recognized by the efforts that we are going through.
Will 12 to 1:30 be enough time?
I believe that from going through this with Captain Spencer and also with Chief Castelli, we've kind of broken it down so that we're going to have the presentation take place about 30 or 40 minutes of presentation, but we're going to have the ability to, as a group, sit back and ask questions specifically relating to the policies and procedures that we have become familiar with, or issues and topics that come up from the presentation that we have question about. And there is not enough time in a lifetime for us to do this, because we are not police officers. We're just trying to become familiar with what takes place in that department. And I tell you, the amount of technical stuff that takes place in the department, we could sit there for weeks. And I bet you, Wade, you could tell us, we could sit there for weeks to try to understand the intricacy of the department, and we may never get there because we're not police. But getting a general understanding of how the operations generally work, I think that hour and a half time is good enough for us.
And Rev, just to add to what Bernie was saying, the the tour that he got a week ago or a couple of weeks ago, that was very comprehensive. It was about 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours long. This is going to be more like a sit and talk with the commanders that are responsible for the 4 divisions in the department. So I would love to take all of the you've done the tour before. You sit on the Public Safety Advisory Board, and so does Katrina. So they've done the tour before, and they actually have intimate knowledge into the department. But I think it is a good idea for all of the chairs to do that all over again. Do the not only the sit and talk with the commanders, but the whole tour again of the department from top to bottom.
And I just want to mention, just as a slight point of information as to why it's so important to understand, one of the departments, one of the areas that Chief Caselli pointed out to us, there are actually 2 areas. One is the pistol range or the shooting range, and to go into that environment and understand a little bit of what the officer goes through in terms of training as to how they use their weapons is tremendously important to just get sight of, to see what an officer has to go through and understand how they go through training to use their weapons and the reality behind using those weapons. Tremendously important for our group in general. And then in addition, one of the other areas that the chief pointed out was they have this tactical emergency area in which they can even take on chemical, if there's a chemical issue that takes place within our community, they're actually able to take on how to process through that. That type of detail just gives you an understanding of the breadth and depth of this police department. This is not just guys sitting in a car that drive by and look at people who are involved in either jaywalking or loitering or trespassing. There's a lot of professionalism in the department that it's strategically important for us to understand, because we're making recommendations about a professional group that we actually just may not have a full breadth of. So I really, really recommend that that we all take note of that as we proceed forward.
And Bernie, I just wanted to confirm that only the first meeting has been set up, the one on the 11th.
Yes,
None
only
of
the first
the
meeting.
other one has not yet been finalized. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Katrina?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Good.
So we met, well, we had a Zoom meeting with the Albany police, not the commander of the Albany Police Department and their president of their CPRV program that they have implemented. They gave us a lot of information, a lot of valued information. They let us know who oversees and reviews the complaints that were placed. Their places that that they are able to report, the multiple locations that they're able to report any cases, their functioning, their funding of their whole program. It was a lot. It was a lot that was given to us. But I want to point out that what they said about their effectiveness of their program that they have, they got about 40 cases a year, and that the cases are reported to the police department. From the police department, they're recommended to their group, their CPRV committee, and where they do their investigation, and everything goes back to their chief, who makes the final decision, which was within their department. we,
Katrina, you mind if I ask you to just update me on what the CPRV stand for?
I can't give you the exact definition
Oh,
of what it
okay.
stands. I was looking for.
Community Police Review Board.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Captain Spencer. I was trying to look it up on my computer, but it passed. But yes, their Civilian Complaint Review Board. But they're rolling. Their program seems to be. Thank you, Karen. Their program seems to be working. What they also said that was also effective with their policing is that the use of the body cams, that when they because of the use of the body cams, it's a benefit to the civilians as well as the police. Whereas if somebody makes a complaint saying that, oh, the officer did whatever, it's on the body cam. So even if the officer, it works hand in hand, to where they said that they noticed that that because of the use of the body cam, it basically has people, puts them more calm when they're approaching, because they know that they're being recorded, so their actions are more so they're checking themselves, really. And also with the police officer knowing that his actions are being recorded, that he's being more cautious of how he handles the situation. We discussed about we asked about the accountability of the officers, but we still got to get back to that. That's still another discussion. But it was basically it goes back to the department, to the chief, where he makes the final decision, and their actions are handled within the department. They handle it internally. It was a lot of information. If you get it, it's too much for me to go verbally and tell you everything that was discussed. But they had some of the places in which we discussed in our subcommittee before, about having a place where people can go to report their incidents if they don't feel comfortable with going to the police department, outside agencies. We talked about the Slater Center, because that's like basically the hub of the community, and more so of a neutral location where somebody might feel comfortable. But they have their complaints are done at their police department, just like with ours, with internal affairs. But they also have at their library. They can go to the library, they can go online, and their Albany Law School has an area where they can make their complaints there. And all these things we're reviewing to see how this can benefit us. Also, I forgot to mention that their board consists of 9 members, and 4 of them are from their common council, and the other 5 are appointed by the mayor to the board to sit on the board, and they serve about a 2-year term, and then they rotate off, and they can go off a year and come back on. But that's how their board is organized. The lady who spoke with us, who's currently serving, she was phenomenal. She was really awesome and giving us a lot of information. You can hear her passion and her commitment to this board and how much it means to her. And we're just thankful that that they took the time, and the commander as well. The commander, if I mess up his name, Baccio. Oh, wait, I wrote it down. So Bacciuello. Thank you. He was awesome. You can also see their passion and the importance to them, to make sure that that their commitment to their community, just like our commitment to our community. They want everything to be right within their community. They want the community to feel comfortable knowing that they can trust and engage with their police department as with our community. You know, I said before, and I'm just, I went through, you know, the, sorry.
What happened?
A bee.
You know it's recorded, right?
I've got dibs on putting it on the funniest video. I have got dibs. Okay?
Don't do that to me. But you know, going through the Citizens Academy, and Captain Spencer has been awesome with opening up the department, letting us know the many facets of how the department runs and how it operates, and any questions that I've ever had, or, you know, he's been awesome with getting me the information, whatever I asked, and making sure that any need that we needed in the community from our police department, that need was met. You know, but so, and I appreciate Captain Spencer, Captain Chief Castelli. I appreciate y'all greatly, because y'all really done a lot for the community and building up White Plains and improving the community relations within the community. And we want to keep that. That's commendable, and we want to keep that, and we want that to continue and to continue to grow even after, you know, it's like one of my concerns is, okay, when they leave, when they retire, how can we make sure that the work that they put in is going to continue? There are no guarantees, but we want to do the as much as we can today to instill everything, to put everything in place, so that once you'll Captain Spencer and Chief Castelli, once y'all leave the department, right now, I feel comfortable because I know you guys are there. But once you leave, what's going to be in place for my grandson, who's now a teenager, when he's driving in just a few short years, or just walking down the street, and he comes home and, Granny, God forbid, we're praying it doesn't happen, but like, just so that we want to be proactive. We want to stop those situations, whatever happened in the past. We want to make sure that it doesn't happen in the future, that we can set up some kind of system, put some kind of system in place now to any whatever's happened to me, happened in the past, that it doesn't happen to someone else. And that's more so, you know, that's more so what I hope that we can accomplish by formulating a board to do that, to prevent these situations, or if they happen, how could we address them so that it doesn't go far, so that the poison of the department, that poison is cut out of the department, so it doesn't further fester and continue to create more circumstances or more hurt or more conflict, and then having the situation to where it's the community against the police. That's not what we want here. We want community and police like this.
I completely agree with you. I've been thinking about that too. What's going to happen when the chief isn't there, when the captain isn't there? I feel comfortable right now because I've gotten to know them, and I can see that they're passionate and they're committed. So I'm thinking we're in a good place right now, but we need to put things in place to make sure that when they're not going. By the way, how much longer are you going to be around, Captain?
I'm a baby.
Okay, good. Okay, because it's very important that we put things in place, and that's what this committee is about. we know we have a lot of good police officers. We have a lot of good, the department itself is good, but we want to put things in place so to be prevented, you know, so that we don't run into problems. This executive order is about reform. It's not about fixing what isn't broken. If it's good and it's working, then we're going to leave it alone. But we want to put some things in place so that when we don't have the captain there and we don't have the chief there, we don't have to worry because we got things in place. So that was my concern too. How long are they going to be there? You know, I feel good now, but who knows? I mean, we have had problems and we don't want that to happen again.
Can I just add something? And, you know, and I'm happy that Captain Spencer and Chief Caselli are both, you know, young, especially compared to me. But the important thing for this committee is to, you know, make sure that we, you know, we help set policy and procedures and set the standard that will continue on for generations. I just want to add one thing about what Albany's doing. All of their community police review board meetings are public or open to the public. You can go onto the website and see past meetings. You can watch them live. So that, you know, as far as transparency goes, they're fully transparent. They're not hiding anything, and they've been around for 20 years, which is
a good model for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I saw. I didn't see the tape, but I know we got it. The video.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to be looking at that. But I completely agree with you. You know that we need to put things down, make sure that it's in writing. You know.
Janice, when you say the tape, what tape are you referring to?
They recorded that meeting. Katrina's group, they recorded that.
Oh, okay.
So I want to see that. So I think they're going to be a role model for us and something we should look up to and at least see, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
and the review board, they don't actually do the investigation. Once the investigation is completed by the police department, you know, by the internal affairs department, they review the report and the findings. Okay. And they said, I think like 1 out of 5 or, you know, whatever, 2 out of 10 or 1 out of 10, they send back and said, no, you got to look at this deeper or whatever.
Wow.
So yeah, it's you know,
that's great.
Yeah.
So you know, I'll be looking at that. That's great. But like I said, the executive order is about reform, where we can put things into place to make this community safer, not just for right now, because I feel really good about right now. I don't think that the captain and the chief is going to allow for a whole lot of nonsense, but you never know. You know, somebody could slip through the cracks. You know, somebody could have an off day, and we want to make sure that we have things in place that's not going to let someone get away with something terrible.
Also, I just want to add in there, in the tenor of for New York, it was reform and reimagine.
Right.
So I also want to add in there reimagine, and I think our community engagement unit will be the most poignant evidence.
Absolutely.
That aspect of reimagining what policing looks like in the city of White Plains. Though we have these 6 officers, Chief was very clear in regards that every officer is a part of community policing and stuff like that. These 6 are special jewels that I promise to mess with and do all kinds of stuff with and stuff like that. But with that said, we, in reimagining it, Spencer, looking at getting African American young boys and young girls to be a part of the Explorers, you know, doing a outright recruitment, either through the churches or through Winbrook Commons or whatever it is, to make sure, because our Latino brothers and sisters take advantage of those programs. We step back and we become less.
Well, we need to make sure our children see that working for the police is a respectful job. Right now,
no, that's because of, and I'm going to say very clearly, as I told my cousin Paul a long time ago, I used to deliberately delete from my Facebook police brutality, because I know that's not the only image. There are good police officers,
Well,
right?
you and I know that, adults know that, children,
But
you know,
that's where we
want to get part of that negativity. They don't want to be part of it.
but that's the reason why the explorers are important. That's why the activities of police coming to Calvary and overdoing themselves in regards to our parking lot. All of those things are is important. When Wade and the organization that he's a part of came to Theodore DeYoung Community Center years ago and did that whole bent on policing and stuff like that.
I remember that.
And you know, Janice, and the major thing that all those young men and young women wanted to know, how much, how much, how much. And that today, prayerfully, White Plains is going to get 2 or 3 young men that were there at that program at the center who has already applied for White Plains right now, Spencer. And so with that said.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
So I'd just like to make a comment on what you're saying, Reverend. And Janice also to co-sign on what you said. Our community has a sense of policing about and opinion about policing that goes beyond what happens in White Plains. The way that African Americans feel about policing is historic. It is not just something that just happened. It's not just something that just happened when Mr. Chamberlain, when the situation happened with Mr. Chamberlain. It dates back through my parents and their parents' a lifetime. And it's something that is encoded in almost in our DNA as to how we look at policing. So our task, although is to inform our community and try to make sure that we ensure that there's some belief that policing is there to help our community. There's a lot that we're dealing with that has to do with our history, and we need to be realistic about that also. So I was wondering if at some point we could actually have, and maybe it's just this smaller group, a discussion about what actually we're trying to make sure doesn't happen. As you say, Janice, how do we recognize that there is this issue, and what it actually is that? What are people saying in the street? We've heard from various people who speak to us, but as a group, we haven't had that conversation about what that is and somewhat unpack the topic that we're talking about directly with each other, so that when we're confronted possibly by our community as to, well, did you actually, because I get questions now as to what is this group doing? Are you actually talking about this as this particular issue? We've heard that these issues exist, but are we as a group, have we discovered those in our conversations together, and how we are looking to it to rectify those going forward? I think it's an important process for us to try to take on. Yes.
What issues are you referring to?
Well, I could tell you, in the community that I serve, the issues of how police interact with them. What do they see first off when a policeman walks up to them to ask them for identification, or as to ask them why they're in a particular location, or to talk to them about the thought that they live in an area, or whether they're invited to be in that area, or if they're trespassing, or if they believe that they're involved in the use of illegal drugs, or stop and frisk, or even whether people living in their homes have a good opinion of whether the police are there to provide them with assistance, or even misinterpreting that. I tell you now a story of a woman who reported to the housing authority that she was being menaced by another person who followed her into the building with a knife, and she called the police 3 times, and she felt, in her opinion, that the police didn't respond to her, although they actually did respond in follow-up and going through actually what the situation was. But what might have happened is that at the end of the day, she didn't feel that the police respected her enough to come back and tell her what happened to this woman at the end of it, so that she and her family felt that they would not be menaced anymore. So there are a lot of things that we're hearing nationally as an issue, and as Janice, as you say, we don't want to have something tragic happen, but there are things that are less than tragic that happen in our communities that people are really concerned about, that we may not have had an opportunity to address amongst ourselves, just to recognize that these are the things that people are concerned about. Being stopped in the street by police. As you, I think, Janice, you had said in one of our conversations that our community is when they see a policeman in the street, they get agitated.
Mhm.
All right. And that happens with the majority of African American people that I know, that if we're walking in the street and we see a police officer, our first thought is not possibly, oh, this person is here to protect me, but more so, I have to be concerned about how I carry myself with and around that person, or around that officer. So I think this is a real challenge for us to recognize. I understand Spencer and I understand Wade. You guys have been in the department. You understand your job. You're professionals at what you do. But I'm quite sure that you know that this issue exists also. When we see an officer, we go into our bodies go into, okay, now I got to think about how to handle this. And that's not something that we should not be aware of within this group.
Well, yeah, just come real quick. Unfortunately, it took years and years and years of, the way this country has treated us, through police to get to this situation. And I think, like we mentioned before with Captain Spencer and Chief Costelli, things are changing in White Plains for the better. It's not going to happen overnight. And with the stuff that we're putting in place, hopefully put in place with this, committee, it'll probably expedite or fast forward some of these changes, because like procedural justice, where when they speak about police officers being transparent, giving people a voice, treating people with respect, all that stuff is going to hopefully start coming out of this committee, and hopefully it'll start spreading throughout the state. Because what happens if we treat a person one way, but then they go to Greenburgh, Terrytown, or Pleasantville and get treated a different way, now everything we did gets washed away. So and I've also heard from other police reform committees, through sources that came to me with confidentially, that some police officers, not in White Plains, but some of the committees, police officers actually ask people, can you call in or go and tell about positive things that were said, or that positive experiences that you have with police officers. They try to make the positive stuff outweigh the negative things. And I was so upset to hear it. But there are rumors that some police departments are having people call into committees like this and just giving good stories. And chase away the bad stories. But I don't think that's happening here. And I just wish more people, like Katrina stepped up. I'd like to hear more stories like that. But we have an idea where we were, and I know where we were, and I know where we're going. For me, I have my son is 20 years old. When he drives on White Plains, I feel more confident when my son is hanging on White Plains than I feel when he's going to a different town. And he even told me, he said, he's been stopped by White Plains police. He's been stopped by Greenburgh County. He says, Dad, the White Plains police are the coolest. Before they even know his name, they don't even know his name. He just says the way they treat you is like, it's not like maybe two times. He was one time he was on his line bike and one time he was driving, but he said they were so polite. And I know the body cam is a huge, plus in the right direction for treating people fairly, because that you can't change that tape, and as long as you have that recording on, and you're supposed to, turn it on when you're encountering people, you got to be in your best behaviors. That's both ways. So we're heading in the right direction. It's going to take time, but Bernie, I hear you, and I definitely, understand where you're coming from, with what you're saying.
And I agree with you, Wade. I've worked with the White Plains, especially the Greenburgh community and the White Plains housing community, for over nearly 15 years now. I've seen the history. I've been there at times at 2 a.m. when when an arrest was being made of a particular individual, and how the community responded to that issue and that topic, and how the police dealt with that. I definitely believe that White Plains is a different place than other places, but we have to be realistic about also how our community senses the issue in general, and we need to express that to each other, so that, Janice, as you say, that it's not just everything looks rosy from us planning to do things that are correct. We have to realistically address these issues so that we can address them in the future, because there will be problems in the future, and our ability to communicate correctly about those issues are even more paramount than to prevent things from happening. So I agree with you, Wade, 100%. Thank you.
I've
Thank
had
you.
very positive experiences with the police out here in White Plains. I've gotten tickets. They were handled very respectfully. The guys were really nice. So, I know for the most part, the police officers in White Plains are the good guys, men and women. But, we still have a job to do. We gotta still do what we have to do, even though we're in a pretty good place right now in White Plains. We cannot ignore what's going on all across the country, and we just got to do what we have to do, put things in place to help. Try to see if we can eliminate those kind of things from happening here. So, Patrick, we haven't heard from you yet.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. All right, so when it comes to training, I did have a quick question. When you guys went over the community policing unit with White Plains, did they have any training that's different than the other officers?
When you
No.
say, yeah,
No, not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. This is a brand new unit. We did do a familiarization with them for about a little over a week before we actually put them out on their assignment. We did some in-house familiarization and top-down ideals and what we wanted and expected out of them. But as far as sending them away to any training, no.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna try to make this brief, but I did go do a walkthrough on Wednesday morning, and yes, like a lot of people have mentioned, that's really, really helpful to see the structure of the police department, who kind of oversees what, and where people are intertwined and work together on things like training or like equipment. So yes, I suggest that you do that if you can, if you have time. I received some information on the bias training. We're definitely gonna be making really serious recommendations when it comes to that. The bias training does have good information, but it fails to really address racial bias specifically, and that is in the Executive Order 203. So we have to make sure, we really, really have to make sure that we're being clear on what these trainings consist of, right? The bias training just can't be about people that are like from a poor community or people that speak Spanish only. So the way that I interpret some of this bias training is that it touches on topics, but it doesn't address race specifically. So we're gonna have some suggestions around a bias training, more specifically, undoing racism, something that speaks more on anti-racist principles. So I know that term comes off strong to a lot of people, but that's what needs to be discussed when we're talking about bias in policing. It just can't be about fair policing. It needs to be layers and layers deeper that go into history of policing and history of oppression of specifically Black and brown people in our communities. So that's going to be one of our heavy requests. We also talked a lot about trauma. Trauma is twofold when we talk about training. We have trauma when it comes to training officers and dealing with trauma of civilians and how they are responsive to civilians. So one of the last trainings that the department did was with WJCS, which is a great agency to teach on trauma, but it was about 3 years ago. This needs to be done more regularly, and this needs to be given more time. Also, like a lot of other topics like de-escalation, you talk about a lot of good topics throughout all your different trainings. You're talking about de-escalation, you're talking about mental health, but where is the specific training around trauma and resilience? Those are two really, really important trainings that we're going to be looking to make sure that this is a regular occurrence, right? Whether it's WJCS or another community partnering agency or educational institution that comes in with a specific model. This is what we're going to be really recommending, is specific models that we're aware of that have really good effective like rates and low rates of recidivism, or things that really show positive outcomes when not just working with youth, but working with adults too. So we talked about trauma. Trauma when it comes to mental health of the officers specifically, is gonna be, that kind of over plays with qualifications and recruitment too. We did have some things that we wanted to bring up with qualifications and recruitment that kind of interlap with training. So I'm gonna have to reach out to you guys separately because when it comes to having regular trainings and let's just say like PLUs, police learning units, whatever they have to be, something to keep up with potential police licensure that a lot of people are talking about. That's something that we want to make sure trainings and specific trainings are a part of. So when it comes to qualifications and continued qualifications to stay in the police department, there's a lot of suggestions that we have as well. We talked about body cams, and still the way that I perceive it is that there's a general discussion on the operation and how you work a body cam, and then there's policies and procedures around body cams. We would like to propose, maybe it's too much to have a specific training on body cams, but there needs to be more discussion and scenarios about body cams congruent throughout all your trainings. I know you do it in the simulator, which is great. That sounds like a really great resource, but what else can we do? Because it sounds like body cams are a part of the White Plains PD culture, and you guys are really good at turning them on and prompting each other, turn on your body cam, and utilizing it as something to protect you and civilians. But I feel like there could be an extra layer deep of like training around this, or incorporating it throughout your other trainings, right? So that was where we kind of are at with body cams. Community policing trainings now too is something that I would like to learn more about. And what are you gonna use as a model? Are you gonna really look at classic community policing, or is there some newer model that you're looking at? Because classic community policing was designed to be a very specific way. It had a very specific goal, the people that really, really originated community policing. So I think I'll be able to get some more recommendations on that from our county reform team as well. One of the other big topics was breaching a door. You know, it's something that we talk about in scenarios, it sounds like, when it comes to trainings. You guys have technology, you have equipment, you've advanced in a lot of ways to use things like cameras instead of a battering ram to open a door. But we still are adamant on that being a specific topic. And I know that most likely it will be the ESU unit that would have any involvement in that. But I think it's important for all officers to know the rules around opening someone's door. And obviously there's medical reasons as to why a door is breached, but also, you know, what can happen. You know, I know also too that that's a part of policies and procedures. Now you need a warrant or of some kind to enter a door in a lot of situations, but what we want to avoid is any extrajudicial killings of anybody in the future. So that is something that we want to see a little bit more of, even if we know that it's woven throughout these different trainings, that's a scenario that you guys practice regularly. That's something that I think we could negotiate on and like agree upon, right? It's something that you're addressing. Maybe it's not a specific training for it, but it's something you're addressing. So those are the major topics. I mean, when it comes to equipment, I'm not gonna lie, Janice, I feel like we use a little extra support on that. It's not my expertise. So I am gonna reach out to someone from Westchester Coalition for Police Reform and get a little advice. And there are some suggestions that we will have. We're looking at any method that is less lethal. We're looking at less lethal weapons options. But we understand there are things that you guys keep in your inventory that really are meant to be there for really severe cases of you know, God forbid, like you know, a shooting situation where you guys have to protect a large group like a school or anything like that. So we understand the science of why you need certain equipment, but what we're really going to be pushing for is usage of the less lethal equipment and more exploring around that. I know you guys have been looking into things like the Ebola wrap, which is good, but it's also, there's concerns around the effectiveness of that. There is discussion of getting an armored car, like a rescue vehicle, that's really, really expensive. I'm gonna ask for some more advice on that too. I know that that's something that would be maybe later on down the line, but it's something that we feel like if there's a way that we could avoid spending so much money on that and more money on something that is less lethal, but we understand that that is used more of in a rescue manner. So it may be something to think about. But if we were to purchase something like that within the White Plains Police Department budget, where can we flex things? Where does the other money go? Where do we lose money? Let's not take money out of training. Let's not take money out of community engagement and these really other important things. But that's something that I think would be really important to look at. And I'm still kind of looking to see if there's any other future equipment or technology that you guys are looking to use, because we want to know. I feel like we're doing this now, but then it's going to be submitted in March and April, but then you guys might have plans to do something that might be next year. If we know about things about purchasing new technology or new equipment and putting that into the policing that practice that you guys do, it'll be beneficial for us to know that now, so we can work with you on why you're using it, what's the goal of using it, and how it can help you guys to operate as a police department in the most safe way for yourselves and for civilians. Lastly, I went to the 911 control unit, and there is, at times, you guys have numerous people that aren't police officers navigating the police 911 calls, which is great. And that's advanced for some police departments. But we want to explore not just training people that operate in the 911 calls, but having more people with lived experience, having more people that are mental health providers or social workers or more connected to the community, help with operating 911 calls, because there's a lot of data and research about having people operate 911 calls that can reduce the amount of having to go out to physically respond to a call by navigating a call and de-escalating a situation over the phone with certain people. So that's one of our last kind of things that we're tying into the training as well. And just for time, Janice, I might need a little bit more time, but I'm working diligently with the committee and getting some advice from other community leaders on some of these topics. But we might need a little bit more time, but we'll do our best for the 16th.
Good. So did you say you were working with the county?
You muted, Patrick.
Yeah, no, I'm not working with them, but I know some people that work with the county reform team, and I want to get some advice from them, because we've been talking about this a lot. We're all doing this in different municipalities, but if we're not doing this in some form of unison, or like White Plains could do something, but then what is Greenberg going to be instilling? That's our neighbor. What is New Rochelle doing? We're not that far from New Rochelle, and we have kids that are bused to White Plains from a lot of different communities as well. It's just things to think about. We really want to try to partner with some other task force and see what you're doing, what could we do together, what aligns, what makes sense to do similar. So I think it's just really important that if you guys individually know people that are working on other task force or committees, that we communicate with them and we see what we can do together, because some people have been doing this a lot longer than we have, or some people are just new to it, like we might be as well. So anyone we could reach out to for that extra advice on reform would be great.
I think we're going to have Leroy Frazier come on next week. He's one of the co-chairs of the county, so he can definitely help us out a lot. Maybe put us in touch with the subcommittee person that is working with equipment with the county, and they might be able to help you.
It's funny you mentioned other folks doing on other committees. I'm the vice president of Western Rock and Guardians Association, and Reverend Charles had mentioned us some of the stuff that we do. But we had our monthly meeting last night, and I asked, we had I think 20-something people on the call, and I asked them how many people here are on police reform committees, and we have 5 different members that are on different committees, which is great. So we actually shared some notes.
That is good.
So I know the governor wants everybody to address their own needs and concerns, but it's good to hear what other people are doing, just to have an idea, like, hey, you may miss something.
What cities, what municipalities were on that?
Greenberg, County Police,
Okay.
Ossining, and
Okay,
I forget the other. Yeah,
And that's really good. So you can get information from them.
exactly.
Definitely working with some of them. I wanted to talk to Howard Tribble. You know Howard, right?
Oh, of course.
Right. So, I mean, I know he's the chair in Greenberg, and I was gonna have a conversation with him as soon as I could. As soon as I had some time, I was gonna have a conversation with him, but he's also a guardian, right?
Yes, he is.
Right, right. Yeah, it's good
So-
to work with other people and see what they're doing, get some ideas.
Yep.
So thank you, Patrick. Thank you.
So Pat, just one thing, Janice, Patrick, just wanted to add, as part of your efforts or whoever has the training, are you, I know that you had mentioned those additional credits and is there anything about proficiency, about measuring proficiency? I know that that White Plains may have that, but is it something that we're covering also, an officer proficiency to any particular tactic, procedure, or training that they might have had? So it's one thing to be trained, it's another thing to be tested for proficiency.
That's a really good question. I'll ask around on that, and it would be helpful too. Maybe we could find out what, as far as testing, what White Plains PD does already, or continued like kind of testing. Because when and this is a nationwide, I feel like push, not just in New York, but people are talking about licensure, right? Something that is another point of accountability and just consistency, because you could be with the PD for 5 years, but maybe after like every certain amount of time, every couple years, you're going for, you know, your relicensing exam. Nurses do it, social workers do it. It's something that we're talking about a lot. So I think finding out what we do on testing on a White Plains level will be important now, and then seeing what we can add to that or include in any kind of like certification or licensure of police.
I know that firearms training is something that they are that officers have to go through constantly to be recertified for firearm training. But the other issues, for example, the use of body cams may, for example, be another place or other even tactical trainings that may lead to what you had mentioned before about entering a premise, and there may be new approaches and procedures as to how to do that, and keeping the officers up to date and qualified as being able to adjust to new situations. And is that something that is measured? Is good to understand.
All right. Okay, so are there any questions or any comments that you want to make? Our next meeting is, did you want to say something? Karen?
No, are we looking at the 16th at noon for the next full committee meeting?
The next full committee meeting is November 16th. We're all good with that at noon?
At which
It
point
was
we
gonna
would
be the
try
13th.
to have final recommendations or
Not
not,
fine.
I mean, the draft
Yeah,
recommendations.
preliminary draft recommendations, whatever you have to present on the 16th. Oh, are we good with that?
Although if you're gonna have a
Yeah.
leeway come, that might be a lot for one meeting.
We can still tell them we have it, even if we don't get to discuss it. Let's prepare.
Well, can I recommend
Let's go
something?
meet to get to-
Right.
Okay.
Can I recommend? Can I
Yeah.
rec?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, that if we're going to present something to the larger committee about where we are with our findings so far, that maybe we need to put together something in writing that each of the subcommittees can take a look at, to be able to, because at that particular meeting, there may be questions that come up about what we have found and what recommendations we're making. So it may be best that that be something that we can each look at in writing and make some comment to, versus just having it presented to us that night where we might not be able to respond to it or consume it correctly because there's just so much information that'll be disseminated. So is it possible for us to have some form upon which we can put our recommendations into, so that we have a much more clear understanding of what we're responding to or what we're hearing at any given presentation about what our findings are.
I'm not so sure. Karen, do you understand what he's asking?
If you're talking about creating kind of a uniform, simple form,
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the
because
subcommittees can use, I'm sure we could create something like that. I mean, and ultimately these things will have to be written up.
yes,
So
and
I
that's
do
exactly
agree
what
that
I'm
it's
pointing
nice to
to.
have something in writing as a basis for a discussion.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm pointing to. It's one thing for us to get together and hear from each committee as we're talking about now as to where, what generally we're talking about. But if we're coming up with findings and recommendations, if I'm in a meeting with 20-something people and everybody has questions about what we're hearing, I'm not sure that I can fully go through the stuff that may be given to me that night from hearing it. If there's something in writing that I'm looking to read, I can better consume that and develop a question or specifically understand where you're referring to if I can see it up front first and then respond to it.
So would it be feasible or practical to ask the subcommittees to submit a summary of what they are looking to propose in terms of recommendations by the 16th?
I can, if you need, I can assist with Karen. I can work with you and Janice on a format that will be simple,
Right.
that people can, committees can fill in, that we can respond to. It may not cover everything, but in general, it'll give us a more clear understanding of exactly where each subcommittee is and what they have, or what they're proposing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could get something like that together very quickly and get it out to everybody by Monday or so of next week.
Sure.
Right, a very simple format.
Yeah, very
Right.
simple.
It's just going to say, what are your findings?
But then at least everyone is submitting their findings or recommendations in the same format. So there's a consistency to it.
You think we can have that by Monday?
So I'm sure we could have it.
Yeah, I'm sure we could put it together by Monday.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be something along the lines of, what is your committee? What issue are you referring to, and what is your
Recommendation.
recommendation? That's it.
Right.
And then possibly a third thing of comments, or fourth thing of comments. So it's like a simple form that has the committee, the issue that they're referring to, what is their recommendation, and then the fourth thing may be additional comments. That's it.
Okay, so we'll try to have that out Monday, maybe
Yes.
Monday, Tuesday, the latest.
Yes.
Yes.
So, and then we'll meet back on the 16th at noon. I was watching the county do their summaries and recommendations, and I don't think everybody got to go that same evening.
Wouldn't be surprised.
So, I mean, everybody can be prepared, but with all the questions and the comments that are gonna come, we might not get through everyone at that one particular meeting. We'll try to. Maybe we'll give everyone a certain amount of time, but we might not get to everyone, but everyone should be prepared to give their preliminary findings on the 16th.
Can we have a hard stop? Like if like the 16th, can we go from like whatever, make it an hour and a half and that's it? Because during the day it's kind of tough to,
We can
you try to squeeze your lunch hour, next you know, you're bleeding into your next meeting.
What do you think, an hour and a half?
I think
an hour and a half, and maybe, an hour and a half. And if
after that, I think people mentally just.
Okay, so we can definitely do that. And
do you want to set more than one meeting at this point? Do you want to think about like a couple of meetings?
Well,
I mean, we can do an evening
you talking
meeting.
general meetings, or you talking
general meetings?
So we got one for the 16th. Do you want to do another one on 2 weeks later?
I mean, if we start a discussion about the draft recommendations on the 16th, the following week is Thanksgiving, the 26th.
Now we're in December.
Nah,
I don't know if it's too much to ask to do to do two full committee meetings between the 16th and let's say the 24th, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we could do a daytime
feel
and an
like,
evening.
if there's too much time in between,
Is
we'll
Tuesday the
lose that
24th?
momentum. Yeah,
Is it-
Tuesday the
Can we
24th.
do that in the evening? Can we do a
Tuesday the
evening one on
24th?
Tuesday? Is everybody good with an evening? What's an evening? 6, 7?
I'm good
With what time? 6,
with
7?
having it as having one day session and one evening session.
Right.
Okay,
I'm
so
good.
we're gonna do the 16th is gonna be afternoon. It's gonna be 12. The 24th. What's good? 6 in the evening, 7?
Make it 7. People have the dinner and,
7 o'clock on Tuesday. Okay,
Tuesday the
I just basically have a
24th,
cigar.
p.m.
and that's gonna be general meetings, 2 general meetings. Okay, and then after that, the
Let's see when-
subcommittee chairs will meet again.
That's November the 24th
Well, the second general meeting.
at
Yeah.
7
So,
p.m.
so
Yeah.
once again, that's a general meeting on the 16th
And
and the 24th.
right, just so we can make sure we get everybody's recommendations in before December. Any other questions or anything going on?
Yeah, the only other thing I want to say is, Katrina, I, 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 I like instructions on how to get rid of the murder hornets that you've been dealing with.
You don't need to come to the church because I think that's murder.
And one thing, Patrick, just so you know, the recruiting and the committee that I'm chairing, we are looking at ways to increase the number of White Plains residents on the police list and African American or minority residents, becoming police officers. So just so you know, that is, I didn't bring up everything we're working on, but some of our recommendations will hopefully help to increase the number of White Plains residents that become police officers and minority White Plains residents become police officers.
What's the age limit for police officers? What's the age?
I think it's 20 to get hired and 35.
You can take the test at 19, but you got to be 20 to be hired, and it cuts off at 35. Is the top end.
Okay.
35 to take the test, right? Or is that
You have to take the test by 35 or be hired by 35?
I think it's hired by 35.
Okay.
But if you're in the military, you get that time back.
You get your years, but I think you get at least 4 years if you did in the military. But I'll find out definitively and get that to you, Janice.
One question I have is, can I have the phone contacts for everyone who's in the subcommittee so that there may be issues where we could talk directly to each other? I think it would help versus to only have to be on the Zoom conference. If you don't mind, everyone.
I had sent out a full committee contact list a little while back that had an email and a phone number for everyone, but I'll resend it. I'll send it out again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody good?
Mhm.
Good.
Everybody feel good about their committees? Good? All right. So everybody have a good weekend. Enjoy this beautiful day. Sorry, Trollinger. And see you on the 16th. I'll see you next Wednesday, the captain.
Yes.
Next Wednesday. You'll be there, right? Okay. All right,
I'll be there.
everybody. All right. Have a good day.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.